Back on K97.5 in honor of our comeback, we have a little LL Cool J for you. Mama said knock you out.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my pants, putting suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go boom, explosions. Overpowering, over the competition, I'm towering.
All right, guys, we're back with James from Daily Leaves of Sports Trivia for another Game of Thrones Q&A, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of questions about the Jon Snow series. And we got parts 3 and 4 of A Dragon Raised by Wolves coming up as well. Also want to mention really quick, I just participated in another Trial by Trivia round 2, which is a great little trivia channel, Game of Thrones trivia specifically for right now. And it's for a great cause for charity for Guardian Angel Medical Service Dogs. There'll be a link in the description below for that, so please check that out and donate. Without further ado, let's get to some questions.
Is it like Bachelorette? You can't say whether you won or not?
I can't.
Till it airs?
It'll be out actually, what's today? Tuesday. It'll be out tomorrow. It will be out tomorrow.
Man, well, I'll tell you, I'm glad to be back. This actually kind of feels new again. It's really weird.
It's been a while.
All right, I'm going to dive right in. I've got a question from Vasily Krisan. Says, Q&A, I know this doesn't have much to do with Jon Snow, but do you think the Lord of Light is actually evil? I've been thinking he might be, especially since the literal translation of Lord of Light in Latin is Lucifer. What do you think?
I guess the short answer is I don't think there's any gods. I don't think there is a Lord of Light. I think that I've been saying this for a while and kind of got confirmation, at least from my idea, in season 6 when we saw the White Walker be created by the children of the forest. In the books, Melisandre, says that there is R'hllor, the Lord of Light, and then the Great Other, the Lord of Darkness and Death. Well, and she attributes the White Walkers to the Great Other.
Yes.
They're, basically the White Walkers are the champions of the Great Other, the evil, dark god of death. Well, now we know that the children created the White Walkers.
Exactly.
So there is no other god, or Great Other, I should say.
Right.
There's only the old gods, which are essentially green seers, is what I've been saying for a long time now. So green seers are old gods, in my opinion. That kind of proves right there with them creating the White Walkers themselves that there is no Great Other. So therefore, if there's no Great Other, there likely is not a red god, R'hllor.
Right.
So I think, and somebody's going to say, I know.
About the
flames.
Yeah.
Visions and the flames. Yes, there is magic. There's definitely magic. Magic can be tapped into by certain people or probably everybody on some low level, I think. But shadow binding and the magic that she has definitely there, but that's just part of the natural world, I think, that requires blood. We've talked about that a lot of times in other videos. So I think that the Lord of Light is her creation, not her creation, but, a society's creation of a religion, just like real life around certain events they can't explain. And I think probably the visions, my guess right now would be that the visions are being sent to Melisandre. Now, she's interpreting them all wrong. She thinks it's Stannis being Azor Ahai, or the Prince was promised, whatever.
Yeah.
So she's definitely receiving visions. And what's interesting, though, is in A Dance with Dragons, in her only chapter, she saw 1,000 eyes in the flame, which represents 1,000 eyes in one, Blood Raven, Brendan Rivers, and a boy with a wolf's head who leaned his head back and howled, which is obviously Bran. And she thinks they're the Great Other's champions. But
do you think that magic is kind of at an all-time high in their world right now, or maybe it's coming up from an all-time low or something?
Yeah, I think it wanes, waxes and wanes, just like the moon or the tides or something. Maybe it's related to the comets or something like that. But yeah, right now it's obviously coming back because the glass candles are burning again in the books. You won't see that in the show, but there are obsidian dragon glass candles with no wicks.
Oh man!
That the maesters try to light to get their Valyrian steel link.
Okay.
Those are working again. Of course, we have dragons back in the world, which was a big part of that. Not the cause of magic, I think they were the result of magic, but apparently they enhanced that too. We saw where Tyrion and the pyromancers, said their spells are working again for the wildfire, which has magical properties.
That's right.
So yeah, I think we're back at a high level of magic, which kind of explains the whole White Walker dragon phenomenon.
So maybe seasons have been out of whack in the past, and it helps with magic.
I personally think the season's been out of whack since they created the others. I think that's what knocked them out of whack.
I see. Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion, because there's evidence that they've always been, for the history, the written history, which could be way off. That the seasons they should be in balance according to the Maesters. The way the planetos is tilted towards their sun or whatever.
Right.
There should be a regular seasonal pattern, but there's not, and I think that it's the magic of the white, them creating the White Walkers threw it out of balance. My opinion.
This one really struck me because when I saw this happen on the show, I wanted to ask you this, and I'm glad she reminded me. This is from Serial Margaret. It says, Q&A. This question is actually from one of the earlier seasons in which Sam is north of the wall. He and two others hear the horn blow 3 times, meaning White Walkers, and flee, but Sam can't keep up and is left behind and hides by a boulder. However, when the Whites and White Walkers were walking through, one of the White Walkers turned his head and saw Sam. They locked eyes, but they left Sam alone and continued on. My question is why?
Right. I think, I still question on whether he actually saw him. I think that they had the White Walker look directly at the camera and not necessarily at Sam. Although you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, you could say that he saw him and left him alive on purpose so he would run and tell the tale, kind of like they left Will alive and let him, go beyond the wall, and then, he went to Winterfell and Ned cut his head off. But I don't think he actually saw Sam. I just think that was the first time we saw a really close up of the White Walker's face, and they looked right into the camera. So I don't think he actually saw Sam, because
gazing towards the camera than Sam.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Because they attacked him on the Fist of the First Men, and then when Sam called up to everybody, the rest of them that survived that attack, I mean, why would he leave Sam there, and then they're still just had a battle with the same, crows at the Fist of the First Men. So I don't think he actually saw Sam. I think it was one of those just cinematic things. He stares right at the camera.
Not as juicy as I thought,
right.
But I do believe you.
Right.
I see what you're saying. A real first good look at one.
Right.
Okay, let's see here. This is from Priscilla Bezerra. Q&A. Jon Snow was brought back to life and nobody seems to be paying much attention. Giants were seen. House Mormont believed when they were told about the White Walkers. Do you think people are getting used to the idea of magic being back?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think northern people are getting used to the idea. I don't think northern people ever rejected the idea of magic. They didn't see things for a long, long time, but they knew they were real. Where everybody down south and some of the maesters never believed in any of it.
Right.
They thought they were fairy tales or fables, just like in the real world we have these fairy tales and fables that are probably fairy tales and fables, but in this story they happen to be real.
Yeah.
So I think, I did think that was a little odd how they kind of glazed over, Jon came back and then they showed the Night's Watch and tormented all them like, holy shit, are you a god? And then apparently they had the conversation with Sansa off screen. Like, this is what happened. I got killed and came back to life. And so she knows, and everybody seems to kind of just glaze over it now. Like, it's not such a big deal, but it's going to be huge. I just think that the northern people always knew there was magic in the world, and they're still aware of the old tales and the dangers. Winter is coming, right? Yeah. And all that stuff, and then so they're more prone to believe it and not be surprised by it. And of course, the wildlings too.
This is from Mr. Scotty 301. I recognize his name.
Mr. Scotty.
He says, Q&A, you two rock together. Do you think the origins of the Night's Watch and the First Lord Commander were actually the buffers you say Jon may be?
Yeah, in a way, the Night's Watch was founded because of the Long Night and the supposedly, right, the last hero driving them back to the lands of always winter. And I actually just did that video last night on a little, last hero theory and, who he could have been or at least related to or some things he may have known. But yeah, I think essentially that's what the Night's Watch was created for. They drove him back and then founded the Night's Watch, built the wall supposedly with magic and the help of the children and giants, although I'm not so sure that's exactly how it went down with Brandon the Builder. I think when you have ice creatures that can manipulate ice like Sub-Zero, maybe they had a helping hand as part of their agreement to build that damn wall. Now, you could question that because the magic in it keeps them from passing south but doesn't keep man from passing north. So, I mean, there is a question about how that actually happened, and I think it goes back again to the point I made in that video about the written history. It's probably skewed quite a bit. And they don't really know what's going on.
If Jon does become that buffer that we talked about in the other video, is it kind of like setting the clock over again?
I would say so.
Instead of ending this, it just kind of sets it all over
I would
again.
say so. History repeating itself and going back. But, I think the difference here would be learning from their mistakes this time. Yeah. Whatever set these White Walkers off to come charging back south, whether that's, whatever reason that is, we speculate on a lot of different things and what that could be. Jon's birth. I'd speculated before that it was actually Robert's Rebellion and all the blood spilled.
Right.
During the rebellion all over the place,
because
blood feeds werewood.net and magic and all that kind of stuff. But,
crash the server.
If the South, exactly. If the South learns their lessons from this anti-war story and changes the way they are and changes feudalism and stuff, it may not ever happen again if they learn from their mistakes. So I think that's what the overarching theme is. History will repeat itself. They'll be given another chance, but if they don't learn from what they've been doing wrong in the past as far as all this war and killing each other over power and feudalism, then they can be wiped out and basically exterminated. So that's just my take on it.
Here's another long one. I don't know why I just happen to pick all these long ones today. We haven't been doing this in so long, and I'm so excited. And I see all these meaty ones, and I want to just pick your brain. All right, so this is from Lily's Musings. For the Q&A, sorry if it's too late. I meant to post this sooner. It's not too late.
No, we're behind. We're behind.
My question is, do you think Sam will find some kind of records that state there was a secret wedding between Rhaegar and Lyanna that would indicate he is not only a Targaryen, but he is not a bastard after all? Also, that Bran will be able to see that Rhaegar did not kidnap Lyanna, as everyone was led to believe, but that opposite to that, she went with him willingly. Weren't Targaryens known for taking multiple wives? And since his first wife was not able to bear any more children, she may have accepted this. Lyanna was found in the Tower of Joy, which is in Dorne, right? Says, I don't know, I'm all over the place, but I would really appreciate if my questions get answered in your next Q&A. Thanks.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's possible that Sam could find some record there, although Rhaegar being obsessed with prophecy, I don't know if he would care about sending a raven or whatever and to the Citadel or telling a maester or whatever to record this particular incident. So I think that we'll probably get a little bit of Rhaegar in season 7. I'm hoping we get some Rhaegar. I mean, too. Because they did build him up. I don't know if they don't actually need it for the show, because we did get confirmation of RLJ and the way Lyanna told Ned, and Bran heard all that, although we didn't hear it. We heard whispers basically. I think he learned right then that Rhaegar didn't kidnap her. So that may be enough for the show. I don't know, but maybe we'll get some Rhaegar visions next year to kind of confirm that, since they didn't even actually directly confirm Rhaegar being his father. They released the graphic, but they've been building him up since season 5.
Yeah. He's one of those characters you just kind of want to see what they come up with.
Because you heard in season 5, not even just season 5, previous seasons, you heard Barristan Selmy talking about it to Dany, how great Rhaegar was and how good of a man he was, how everybody loved him. You heard him talking to Dany in season 5 in the Pyramid about how he loved to sing. He didn't like to kill people. You had the scene with Sansa and Littlefinger in the crypts when she was talking about, yes, he chose my aunt, and then he kidnapped her and raped her, and then Littlefinger looks at her like, not really. He didn't say anything, but obviously he suspects, he knows, he may not know Jon's the result of that, but obviously he knows that she left willingly with him. And I think with him being infatuated with prophecy, that Ilya, his wife, would be down with it.
I was getting ready to
I think she
remind
was,
you of that
because
part of the question.
I think she was down with it. They had 2 children, and then she couldn't have a third. She would have died. And I think he figured out that he needed a Stark.
Wow.
I think that's what happened. And
he
I think
intentionally set all this in motion.
I think he did with the Attorney of Harrenhal, because his friend hosted it. So I think that's what set that up, where he could meet her and give her the crown of blue roses and all that good stuff, and set off all the events that happened. So I think she knew about it. She was probably down with it and understood the importance of it. And then, like she mentioned in the question, Targaryens were known before for having multiple wives. Okay. So it wasn't that. It wasn't really accepted in this time period. But if he thought it was important enough for this, savior to save the world,
he could have sold her on it.
Yeah, to hell with custom, right? So I think that's the case in my opinion, anyway. From what I, just knowing about Rhaegar and how even Ned respects him. Ned never says anything negative about him in the books. Every time he thinks about him, he respects him. Yeah. So you don't respect somebody that's kidnapped your damn sister. Right. So I think
I was actually going to mention that too. Where I'm at in the book,
right.
he says some positive things about it.
Right. So I think in the Tower of Joy, all that stuff he whispered, I think he probably learned the truth. We'll find out exactly what he said, and potentially a name too, a Targaryen name there, I'm sure. Because it's not Jon. He named him Jon after Jon Arryn, yes, to hide his identity. Right. But she definitely already had a name picked out. Whether that was her and Rhaegar together, already had the plans for it.
All right, here we go. Next question, Diana K. Q&A. When talking about what caused the White Walkers to react and return, could it be because of the Woods Witch's prophecy that the prince that was promised would be born from Aerys and Rhaella's bloodline being true? The birth of Rhaegar could have been the trigger. Also, if Aegon V married Betha Blackwood, who are descendants of the first men, then Dany would be part ice and fire too. P.S. Love you guys.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's possible that the Night King, and again, remember in the show we're calling him the Night King. The books, there is no Night King yet. It's more of a, there's not really a de facto leader. Okay. There probably is. We'll probably be introduced to him. They may not call him the Night King, but we'll see. But if he was created by the magic of the children, and we saw him in the show touch Bran in a vision, then obviously he has some of that ability, and I think he was a Stark, or a proto-Stark, I should say, depending on the timeline, and, with the potential to already be a warg or a green seer and all that good stuff. So I think it's possible that he knows about all these prophecies and visions, just like, Bran would. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a possibility because Rhaegar was born that night of the tragedy of Summerhall when Aegon V was trying to hatch dragon eggs. So
is Betha Blackwood, it says, a descendant of the first men?
Yeah, that's the Northern House, and Bloodraven comes from Blackwood and Targaryen. Okay. So Bloodraven was kind of a ice and fire baby in the sense that the Blackwoods and Starks intermarried for thousands of years.
Okay.
So there's some Stark blood in House Blackwood. So Bloodraven was one of those, ice and fire babies. He had 2 sisters as well. We never knew what happened to them. So yeah, in a way, Danny has a small percentage of Northern First Men blood from that line. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's true. There are a little bit. You have a lot of characters who have, due to marriages.
They're close misses or something like that.
Yeah, thousands of years of marriage from different houses. You're going to get a little bit of mixing up of bloodlines in there.
Okay, here we go. Herb Coswell says, Q&A. We know that Jon will find out about his parentage, but what would happen if the rest of the North find out, and if so, what would Jon do? Personally, I think he will either leave to King's Landing. I think he will to maybe make alliances with Dany and get help to try to be in the North to help his cousin lead the North and be a Targaryen. Okay? Or force himself to marry a Northern woman to stay in the North. My vote is Sansa, and maybe it will be like Ned and Kat situation where they don't love each other at first, but more over time. The only reason I can't see it happening is because it would be kind of awkward. Secondly, what's your opinion on the theory that Jon and Dany will be enemies at the end? Personally, I don't like it.
Yeah, on the last part of the question, I don't think they'll be enemies. I think the bittersweet ending is probably a sacrifice or death or becoming something else perhaps or whatever, having to go away, but they ultimately, save the world.
And the other one will be affected by it.
And the other will be affected by it, right? So I don't see Jon going to King's Landing for power's sake. I don't see him wanting or caring about the power, even when he finds out that he, is technically the rightful heir to the throne, because somebody else would argue that, because the Targaryens got it by conquest, and then they ruled for 300 years basically until Robert's rebellion.
Right.
And before that, though, there were local kings, stuff like that of different kingdoms. So, there's always going to be a question of who's really legitimate, because of feudalism, that's the way it works. There's always a question, So I don't see him going to King's Landing unless he's going to recruit Dany in that sense for himself, maybe, or whatever, to rally people to the cause, because that's all he cares about at this point is the real threat coming. He's the only one that gives a damn, and now the northern houses that he's rallied being king of the north.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Does Dany know or heard anything about White Walkers?
No.
I didn't think
so. At this point,
so.
Nothing. No.
Somebody's going to have to be really good at convincing her to say,
exactly.
You're not going to believe this, but we need you for this.
Yeah, I know you want that throne.
Yeah.
But look, in order to take that throne,
you
got a bigger problem, because you ain't going to be ruling over shit.
No joke.
Yeah,
man.
so that's the big thing. She's coming over completely focused on, taking her throne back that was hers by right, according to her, being a Targaryen. And then she's got to run into the real threat.
And then maybe when somebody tries to sell her on helping do that, she remembers the vision where she saw the snow in the throne room.
Yeah, she could definitely reflect on that.
Oh, okay, maybe there's something to this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they can, and Bran can see all that stuff, and then you're going to have Howland Reed come in to vouch for who he is, because Dany's going to have a problem. I don't think they're going to be enemies. I can see some tension there, because she's going to take some convincing. But at the same time, so she basically grew up and then became who she is, growing up with Viserys trying to, selling her off to Khal Drogo, and all the shit she's gone through to become who she is, to get her throne back, and then to be all of a sudden told, wait a minute, there's a Targaryen over here already that's a male who is the son of Rhaegar, and the son is always more, first in line than the son's sister in feudalism. So she'll have a problem with that. But somebody's about to say, look, fuck the chair right now.
Yeah,
so I do think that vision, even though it was completely different from the visions in the books of her House of the Undying visions, that when she saw the snow, and I do think it was snow. A lot of people say it could have been ash, but I think it was snow. I think that was her clue about Jon. Snowing in the throne room, snow on the throne. And she goes up to the throne. I mentioned this yesterday, and we were talking that she almost touches it, but she doesn't. She heard a dragon, so she kind of chose her dragons over the throne in that vision.
Right.
Is that something that we're going to see actually happen or come to fruition, where she chooses Maybe this is not what I want to do. Or maybe there's not a throne there. Maybe it does look like that by the time she gets to King's Landing. Although, I don't know about that now because she's already on her way. Now, if she goes to King's Landing first. She may go to Dorne first. She may go to Dragonstone. She may split up and go to several places to take Westeros from several different sides. So,
I'm hoping it's not symbolic with Jon Snow being on the throne. I hope winter comes that far south.
Yeah, I do too. I think we'll see that.
Awesome.
I think we'll see that. I just think I think it was just a hint to us viewers, since the book was completely different, or the books, as to there's already a Targaryen on the throne there.
And that's why she almost touched it, but didn't.
Right, or maybe she chooses not to for some reason. Maybe that's her symbolically choosing to go find her dragons to help in this war for the Dawn that she doesn't know about yet. So that was a future she...
The way she frees slaves, I believe she could have some kind of moral dilemma there.
Yeah, she definitely could. There's a lot of people that speculate that she'll get over there and end up help fighting this war for the Dawn, and then she'll go back and rule in Marine again or something and stay there forever. I don't quite buy that, but I don't see there being... I do see a lot of change. We talked about this a little bit before. I see a lot of change as far as queens, women rulers, and maybe even some sort of democracy, maybe going back to 7 independent states or kingdoms. Technically, there's 9. They just call it 7 kingdoms because when Aegon came over. But we already see, the Ironborn. She made a deal with Yara on the TV show. Hey, help us get rid of this guy, my uncle. Kill him, and we'll help you take the 7 kingdoms as long as you give us the Iron Islands. We'll be cool.
Yeah.
So she's already given away 1 kingdom.
Sansa's this close, and depending on what Jon does.
Right, and the North could be another one.
Yeah.
So I see. That's kind of the way I see it going.
Awesome. All right, next question. Novice Tech 1. What do you make of the fact that Tyrion's parentage is not shown on the graphic released by HBO a few days after the finale? They're going...
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it does lead a little more credence to the whole secret Targaryen thing. Everybody's got to be a Targaryen, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I think both that and the season 6 episode when he released the dragons and walked up to him, never been close to one in his life, and told the story about how as a kid he dreamed of having a dragon, which, again, that's a Targaryen trait. Dragon dreams and affinity for him. So there's evidence there, and the whole Tywin thing. The way he hates him and didn't, say he even says I couldn't prove you wasn't mine and stuff like that. So, we're definitely hints in the books about, Aerys II taking liberties with Tywin's wife, Joanna. So, I mean, I'm not 100% there, but I mean, I'm closer than I was just based off some of the hints in the show. Because
I'm sure HBO likes to keep people guessing.
Yeah, and they're also probably trolling us a little bit too. So we don't really know because you want him to be a dragon rider. A lot of people do, and I do too. Yeah, I mean I do. I think it will be cool, and I don't have a problem if he is a Targaryen, but I also don't have a problem if he's not. I would like to see him kind of restore House Lannister to a some kind of decent state with a decent ruler at the end of this thing, or whatever. Him being the heir to Casterly Rock after Cersei and Jaime bite the dust together. I think.
Hell yes.
So we'll see, but maybe I'll do a separate video on that. Although there's a million out there.
Maybe I'd like to hear you take it.
Maybe I'll put together all the evidence and other things that maybe go against it and throw together a separate video or something.
Awesome. He deserves his own video.
Oh,
smoke screen. All right. This is tough. Put your thinking cap on. It's actually not really a question as much as a comment. This comes from Monkey Man. He says, it's hilarious listening to these guys mispronounce every other word, even the ones that are part of common language. No one can sound less educated and uncultured than someone with a dumbass redneck accent.
That's fucking awesome. This makes my day right here. I mean, think about the irony of that statement. Be careful, Monkey Man. Your tolerance is showing.
Yeah, don't get Kenny Powers fired up.
I mean, shit. But I mean, we're used to all that. I mean, what we're supposed to do? We supposed to talk like this?
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it.
Look at here, boy.
In the American language that we call English. But let me tell you something, Monkey Man. I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal. You point me to your YouTube channel and show me how it's done, and I'll be the first subscriber. And I'll watch all your shit and watch you pronounce everything perfectly.
2 Utes.
Did you say Utes?
Yeah, 2 Utes.
What is a Ute?
Song and story.
Good point.
Song and story. Tell us.
What's this over here?
You never heard of grits?
Sure. I just actually never seen a grit before.
song and story tell us,
Yep.
us,
Okay.
that the Starks of winter. Fuck this. Fuck reading. Fuck all that.
Fuck you, monkey man. You let me tell you one thing. Ain't but two things I'm good at, and that's drinking Sun Drop and kicking ass. This can's about empty.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Jesus. All right, guys, we'll keep it short and sweet for this one. We will be filming Dragon Raised by Wolves Part 3 and 4, as well as another Q&A, and I'll probably start dropping in some shorter solo videos again, as I usually do. So again, thanks guys for the questions. I appreciate it. Also, like I said before in the beginning of the video, please check out this link in the description for Guardian Angel Service Dogs, the Trial by Trivia, Game of Thrones that I'm taking part in. I just had another match in round 2 that will be out tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that as well. I'll link all that stuff in the description below. It's a great channel with a great little GOT community for a great cause. So check that out. Let us know what you think. For Patreon, for you Patreon supporters, really appreciate the support. I'll be kind of doing some more things behind the scenes with you guys as well. So be on the lookout for that. So thanks again, you guys. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.